I'm Reverend Kevin Young, and I'm an ordained minister in the Texas Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. If you have been tuned in to the conversation that's taking place in much of the church today, you know that there is widespread alarm about the threatening decline of the church over the past few years. And everyone who pays close attention to these kinds of church concerns also knows that the greatest part of our decline is accounted for by the absence of young adults and youth in the church. So if you are a young adult or a youth, I want you to know that your absence from the church isn't a mystery to us. In fact, it's well researched and documented. Research by George Barna, for example, reports that the three most widely held perceptions of the Christian church among 18 to 35-year-olds are that the church is, first, judgmental, second, hypocritical, and third, anti-gay. Another noted study by Dave Kinnaman and Gabe Lyons reports that the perceptions of 16 to 19-year-olds only shuffle that order. For 16 to 19-year-olds, the Christian church is first anti-gay, followed by judgmental and then hypocritical. The church's witness is clearly failed among generations of youth and young adults who may deem the church irrelevant. I don't believe these generations have grown indifferent to the gospel, but I do believe that they've grown passionately disinterested in the church, and often because they perceive the church to be in conflict with the gospel. One solution to our decline that circulates widely says that the church needs to fortify and insist on orthodoxy. But honestly, I don't think the research I mentioned earlier tells us that our problem has been that we haven't been orthodox enough. My take is that for generations of young adults and youth, the light of Christ in the church, frankly, has been veiled and indistinct. And I believe these generations actually want to be in ministry with the church, but I believe that you want to be in ministry with a church that imitates the decisive unorthodoxy of the Jesus of the Christian gospel, who broke through the judgmentalism and hypocrisy and prevailing orthodoxy of his day to usher people into the loving embrace of God. And this is where I have some good news to share. There are large numbers of clergy and laypersons in the church who stand with you. Even here in the Deep South where I serve in ministry, there are many clergy and laypersons whose faith commitments include concerns for our global environment, for social and economic justice, for equality and full inclusion for LGBT persons in society and in church, for hunger and poverty, for immigration reform and healthcare reform, and many other issues that are for us matters of faith and matters of faithfulness. I know that these voices have been difficult to hear in our recent history. The committed environmentalists and advocates for women's reproductive choice and supporters of LGBT rights and other faithful disciples of Jesus Christ are clearly underrepresented in the dominant public image of our church, but they are here. We are here, and we are people who hold these issues as earnest priorities of faith. And we are very actively bearing witness to our faith through ministries related to all these concerns. So I'm offering this video message as one voice among many who are deeply committed to the transformational calling of the church and who are also deeply committed to discipleship in the way of the unquestionably unorthodox Jesus of the Christian gospel. I'm offering this video message with the prayerful hope that many people will be encouraged, whose faith also calls them to unconditional love. I hope that the videos on this site will indicate to you that you are not so alone as you may sometimes feel. I'm also offering this video message for those of you who have been hurt and excluded and unwelcomed by the church. I hope the videos on this site will help you know that there are many in the church who stand with you. There are many of us who recognize how hurtful we've been. There are many of us who recognize our sin, who recognize our loss. There are many of us who hope that someday you'll take the risk to give us a second chance, or maybe a first chance. There are many of us who hope that you'll even come and join us. We welcome you. We need you. There's an open space with your name on it, and we will be so much better when you're with us. And do you know what? We'll be good for you too. Thank you so much for listening. In behalf of a lot of friends and many brothers and sisters in Christ, I wish you God's grace and God's joy, God's peace.